Would you like to be somebody who understands how archetypes are connected to dissociation or association psychologically? Then listen to this entire video where I explain how the psyche, where the archetypes reside, are the guiding force for human life or human behavior. And when you disconnect from them, when you dissociate, that is when pathological symptoms arise. So before we get into this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, Jungian psychology, and how to reduce suffering in life. Let's get into it. So first, I'll explain what dissociation is. So dissociation, broadly speaking, is a psychological phenomenon when you are either disconnected with reality, you are out of touch with reality, out of sync with reality, and or when your mind and body are disconnected, so when they're not really communicating to another, but they are, like, obviously, your mind is in your brain is in your body, so they are physically connected, but when they are departed from one another. For example, if your body feels pain, but your mind doesn't detect it, or your mind doesn't notice it, then you might be dissociated. Now, I've made already quite a few videos on dissociation, more specifically, why we are inclined to keep distance from dissociation and hence prefer association. I will leave these videos in the description. Now, association is just the opposite of dissociation. I'm not sure if it's the correct psychological term which I'm referring to, but when I use the word association, I'm simply referring to being in touch with reality and having the mind and body aligned with one another. So I tried to deconstruct in these videos why we suffer from the symptoms of dissociation and why we are inclined to associate. And at first, the easiest answer I was able to extract was that there must be some survival benefit to association. I made a video on how association increases your rate of survival through the better access to resources, being included in social groups, and also attracting a healthy long-term partner. Association might be a biological phenomenon that inclines humans towards survival. And if you'd like to understand why association leads to a higher rate of survival, I'll leave the links to my videos in the descriptions for you to check out. So, but as I also indicated in these videos, that I suspect there is a spiritual reason for association, one that is essentially beyond the physical, because there must be a reason, I think, that goes beyond basic evolutionary theory and biological benefits to association. And I was thinking the other day about Carl Jung's theory on archetypes and the psyche, and I think I came up with an answer to the question how the mind and body being in sync and in touch with reality is connected to spirituality. So, for those who don't know, archetypes are the following. They are behavioral patterns, essentially, that reside in the collective unconscious, in your unconscious mind. And think of it like this. Humans have existed for a long time, thousands and thousands and thousands of years, very long time. And they have always been subjected more or less to the same circumstances. It is family. You're always born to two parents. You always need two parents in order to be born, like a male and a female, obviously. And you will interact usually interact with them unless they leave you as a child. You grow up with them, hence you have mother and father archetypes. You have the hero archetype where you go out into the unknown, fight some monster, and then you're rewarded afterwards. And humans have always been subject to the same circumstances and have been inclined to act out the same behavior then. And you have to understand that we are products right now, the humans alive right now, including you, are products of humans who have been relatively successful at surviving. Yet we have to imagine that there are a lot of the human population that died off as time progressed because they were not good enough at surviving, oversimplistically said. So you are the product of humans who have done well at surviving because they have behaved in a certain way. And over these thousands and thousands of years, these behavioral patterns that allow you to survive have been incorporated into the psyche, into your brain, into the archetypes, and they are stored in your unconscious mind. And they try to anticipate behavior that will make you act out the archetype in order for you to survive and in order for you to achieve something. Hence, the source of guidance in life originates in the psyche, in the archetypes, not just the mind, but also like the soul and the spirit, let's say. So it's quite a broad term, the psyche. And it wants you to anticipate certain behavior, these archetypes, and experiences in life. And one obvious reason for you to ensure or for you to act out these archetypes is just to survive, and in order to enable you to propagate your genes and to keep the species alive. So that would be like the simple biological aim of the psyche. But I suspect there are more reasons that are trickier to pin down, which I do not possess the sophisticated knowledge of, hence I can't really speak about them. But a reason for you acting out the archetypes and the psyche guiding you that is beyond just basic survival and evolutionary theory. It might be incorporated in evolutionary theory, but it is beyond just the physical survival. Now, when you suppress the narrative within the psyche that your psyche wants to act out, and you distort the archetype, for example, the psyche tries to communicate to you by producing symptoms of suffering, whether it is depression, anxiety, psychological complexes. It tries to tell you something something isn't right. Now, this is quite a frightening thought, actually, because it seems like there is an a predisposition within you which you cannot control, and a drive that runs on its own independent terms, whether you like it or not. Whoa. Basically, your conscious control over yourself is in actuality utterly overshadowed and overpowered by this enormous psyche, this enormous power of the psyche, the unconscious mind. And you either deal with the psyche or you will get dealt with, essentially. Like, it's there, and you are just like a little speck of consciousness that stands in front of it, whilst this entire unconscious mind is just overbearing and like standing on top of you. Hence, the core of association is when the psyche acts out that which it wishes you to do and that which it anticipates for you. Then you are aligned with this foundational force of your being. And when you follow that which your psyche archetypes wish, then your body is aligned with it. And because your body and behavior will act upon and be aligned with the psyche and the archetypes, obviously, then you're in association, in the state of association. Okay, but how do we draw in the psyche controlling you and then being in touch with reality? Because association also means being in tune with reality, not just your psyche. But reality is separated from your psyche and the archetype. So would we need to be respecting two different variables, the psyche and reality then, in order to be in association? And this is where it gets quite complex and a bit more uncertain. I believe the unconscious mind, which is a part of your psyche and also contains archetypes, knows what is right and what is wrong. It knows what is true and what is false in regards to the things you have experienced. Like deep down, you know you were lying to yourself about what happened during that conflict you had with Becky. Like, it wasn't her fault that she got fired from her job, it was your fault. But it's too painful to admit it, so you create a false narrative, a lie in your head, in your thoughts. And deep down, you know you are complicit though. So the fact that we know these things means that we are somehow autonomously connected to reality, again, whether we like it or not. You do not get to choose how you want to interpret the world unconsciously. Of course, that's why it's unconscious. You experience things, you absorb it unconsciously without you being able to manipulate what your interpretation of the experiences was. It just it happens automatically without your choice, without your decision. And that's also frightening because, again, it indicates there is some sort of part of our being that works on its own terms without our conscious control. But I think in some sense, basically, reality is incorporated into your psyche autonomously. Hence, your psyche might actually encapsulate both the variables of your psyche and reality in order to be associated with, to be in association. Because in order to be in association fully, you would need to be in sync with both your psyche and reality. And maybe they are connected and even somehow potentially quite similar. Now, I will delve further into this topic of reality and its connection to the unconscious mind and in regards to association and dissociation in a further video, but it is quite a big topic and needs to, it deserves a video dedicated to itself. So in conclusion, the core variable, the core factor one needs to respect in order to be in the state of association, so being in the state in touch with reality and your mind and body being in sync, is the psyche, because it encapsulates, it entails these predispositions, these a priori anticipations for your life, for your behavior, whether you like it or not. And it wants you to act out these things, and it exists independently, autonomously. And when you follow it, then you are following behavioral patterns that are apparently supposed to increase your rate of survival, and something else potentially, something meaningful, something useful, which I'm not aware of, I'm not sure yet, but I think it's there. And if you go against it, you are going against the archetypes, against the behavior that this the psyche wants you to anticipates you to behave and act out, and then that results in symptoms of suffering, which is basically the consequences of dissociation, of when you are out of touch with reality or your mind and body are not in sync. So, and then finally, your unconscious mind, part of your psyche, is connected to reality. It knows what is real somehow, autonomously also. And maybe that is then the unconscious mind interprets reality relatively accurately. And if you would follow then your unconscious mind and listen to it, then you would already be in touch with reality. And that means you don't need to consciously you do need to consciously listen to your unconscious mind, but you don't have to. That is the answer to how do you become in tune with reality. And that the answer would maybe be listen to your unconscious mind because it knows what is real. Something like that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment below whether you agree with this theory on association and dissociation, that your psyche is that which you need to be associated with. You need to listen to the archetypes and try to listen to what your unconscious mind anticipates you to act out in order to be in sync with your mind. And then your body will be in sync with it. And whether you also think that the unconscious mind autonomously, accurately interprets reality, and it is the mediator between you and the world, the rest of the world. Which, by the way, this is a whole different topic, but for I think Carl Jung believed this would be the anima in men and the animus in women. It is the mediator between the outside and the inside to the conscious mind of the human being. I've also made videos on the animus and the anima. If you'd like to check out on my channel, you can find them. Or look on the Archetypes playlist of my channel, where I have many discussions and definitions and explanations of what archetypes and different archetypes are. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, Jungian psychology, and how to reduce suffering in life altogether. Thank you for listening.